Hi guys, so welcome back to Retro Wednesday. So I finally found a Tengu Planet replay, and it's pretty good. So I'm gonna go over this game. It's gonna just a spoiler. It's gonna go up to game 3, and some of the players do misplay, but I feel like misplays are gonna teach us something about the game, especially in terms of ruling. So we're gonna have, yeah, I'm gonna do this commentary video over the over this particular replay. So on the first, player A is playing a Chaos Tengu Planet deck. I don't think he's playing Tengu actually. He's playing a Chaos deck, and on the player B is playing TG Stun. So let's start us off. So let's see what happens. So player A decides to set a card, could be a Raikou. I don't think Raikou is used extensively in Tengu plants, so I'm gonna guess that is not a Raikou, and most likely it's gonna be like a Sangan set or something, or a Spear Reaper. Spear Reaper was extensively played, so yeah, it was a Sangan after all. And he does a set to this back row. Okay. So in this format, Heavy Storm is legal, so Heavy Storm is actually a thing, so you can't just set more than one card willy-nilly, so you have to be preservative. So he's going to set a Book of Moon set. He activates Paw Duality here. He gets a Tengu plant most likely, or most likely he's going to get the Reborn Tengu to his hand, and he does. The scary thing is summoning the Tengu here, because if you do Duality and summon the Tengu, and he activates Torrential here, he would lose all his monsters, and then Tengu wouldn't be able to activate its effect because they're underneath the Duality's stipulation. So what I would do here is, if he wants to summon the Tengu, is to set the Tengu instead of normal summoning it, because this could be a torrential. Another thing he could do is to summon a TG card, because all the TG cards are able to float into another TG. It would make it so that he can waste a torrential here if he summons a TG here. So a good TG here would be a Werewolf or Rhino, Rush Rhino. So let's see what he does here. Okay, it looks like he summons the Tengu here, blatantly disregarding the torrential if he does have it. But it looks like it wasn't a torrential, so safe for him, so he's able to attack the monster. If this was a Raikou, Raikou would be able to pop this card, and he would not be able to special summon a Tengu here. But unfortunately, it wasn't a Raikou, so a lot of things were happening favorably for the player B here. So he searches the Spirit Reaper off the Sangan here, so we'll go off to the next move. He sets 2 back row, so this could be also a Pro Heavy Storm. A Pro Heavy Storm, if you guys don't know, is when the player A sets a Heavy Storm thinking it's a trap card, giving the impression that it's a trap card, so that player B feels safe to set the back rows as well, because if player A activates a Heavy Storm from his hand, it would be a 2 for 2 as opposed to a 1 for 2. So in this case, it could be a Pro Heavy Storm because he summoned a Tengu. It wasn't a torrential, it wasn't a bottomless, it wasn't a warning, so it could safely assume that it gives the player B the impression that it might be a Pro Storm, but only if he knows that it could be a Pro Storm, but it's not a Pro Storm. So yeah, that's the all the mentality that you might need for a Pro Storm. Alright, so he draws for turn, he summons the Alchemist. The Alchemist does have these stats needed to run over the Tengu, the Reborn Tengu. However, in Tengu Plant format, people play Horn of the Phantom Beast to back up the Reborn Tengu to go up to 25k, and then also give them a draw card. So that's a damage step trick that happens in Tengu Plants. Unfortunately, he gets the Trap Dust Shoot, so even if it is a Horn of the Phantom Beast set, he won't be able to float into a monster that he gets off the top of the deck. So yeah, so he tries to swing in here, and he takes 100, so it looks like it was not Horn of the Phantom Beast. So we can pretty much guess that the sets are not, could be a bottomless still. Could also be a warning, because it's probably a waste to lose the Alchemist to a warning. Player B decides to special summon a Reborn Tengu because it's a mandatory effect. I think in this format, if you Phoenix Wind Blast a Reborn Tengu back on top of the deck, it will not trigger, so I don't think that was a ruling back in the day, but I'll have to double check. If anybody in the comment section will let me know that plays Tengu plans, if Reborn Tengu does get some effect off of being sent to the top of the deck, that would be great. Anyway, so player B decides to start his turn now. Now he summons the Thunder King Ryo. Thunder King Ryo is really good in this meta because TGs were a thing, and a lot of TGs like to search at the end phase. And if you have a Thunder King Ryo out there, you can actually prevent the searching from happening. But also Synchro Summoning was big here, so TG Hyper Librarian was a card back in the day that people like to use. So if you Synchro Summon a lot, this TK Ryo was able to negate that Synchro Summon. Okay, so now he summons the TK Rail. He swings into the Alchemist. Player A could have an Honest here, so I would have attacked in the order of Tengu, the Reborn Tengu first before attacking with the Ryu. See what happens here, and it looks like there was no Honest. Reborn Tengu attacks directly for 1700, and he drops the Tragodia on the attack on the battle damage of Thunder King Ryu. Okay, so it looks like he holds off the attack because of the 2400 defense. He sets 2 more back row. Most likely the player A or player B was able to draw into a Starlight Road or Solemn Judgment because he's committing more into the back row. So if Heavy Storm comes down here, he could activate the Starlight Road or the Heavy Storm or the Solemn Judgment. Player A switches the Tragodia to attack mode, and he attacks over the Thunder King Ryo, asking what the attack of this track is 3k, and then he takes the damage for 11k, and then he loses the Thunder King Ryo to the Tragodia. Okay, he passes turn here with the Tragodia in attack mode. So now player B has to remove the Tragodia somehow. A good card that you can play is Mind Control in this situation. Mind Control, being able to take the Tragodia and then copy a level of a monster in the graveyard, putting Tragodia to level 4, is able to Xyz summon because Xyz are legal in Tengu plant. You can overlay the Reborn Tengu and the Tragodia so that you can permanently steal the Tragodia into a rank 4, most likely going to be a Utopia if it does happen to be a Utopia. Okay, it looks like he activates Dark Hole instead of the Mind Control, which is fair. The Reborn Tengu can float into another Reborn Tengu, into the last one, and then the Avarice is not live yet because they have 4 monsters in the graveyard. Okay, here you can summon another monster and attack him directly with that monster and its Reborn Tengu. If it's TG, it's pretty good here. Looks like he doesn't draw into a TG, so he attacks for 1700. Activates Battle Fader here to negate the battle phase, and he sets a monster. Could be a TG monster. Let's see here, and then he draws into a Caius. Caius is then able to remove a card. He chooses a back row instead of a monster. I would personally choose the monster because the monster is most likely going to be a TG monster. So it looks like he chooses the monster after all. And he loses the TG striker. Caius then swings into the Reborn Tengu, a ballsy move because he could have Horn of the Phantom Beast set. So let's see if he has it. He goes into the damage step, he activates Horn of the Phantom Beast, and the player A activates Book of Moon not in the damage step. So just so you guys know, if they go into the damage step, they cannot activate Book of Moon in response to Horn of the Phantom Beast. But they're going to allow this misplay, and then they're going to activate compulsory to the Caius. And Book of Moon targets the Reborn Tengu, loses the Horn of the Phantom Beast, draws a card, flips the Reborn Tengu here. So now that he has a clear board, it could be a Gores in hand, so they have to play around the Gores here. Looks like he swings into the attack for 1700. No Gores. Tragodia is at 2 in this format, so even if they try to... So Chaos likes to really hold a big hand so that they could bring out Tragodia at any moment's notice if they do draw it. Player B decides to set a card here. Not bad. Drawing to 6 cards, looks like the Chaos player is at an advantage over here, but he does not have the board control. Summons the tour guide here, tries to go into a Leviathan Dragon because it's big enough to run it over. Let's see what happens here. He goes to Leviathan Dragon. Let's see what happens. No Book of Moon. Oh, it looks like he has a compulsory set, so he's going to send back the Leviathan Dragon, and then he activates Dark Hole to clear out the Reborn Tengu once and for all. So there's no more Reborn Tengus in the graveyard, so the TG Striker will be able to search a card. So it'll be during the end phase, he's able to search for the Rush Rhino, add it to his hand. He draws a card for turn, and he can summon the Rush Rhino and start doing damage. He didn't have the Tragodia last turn, or the Gores, so most likely this is going to be a safe swing. He swings in for 2k because when it attacks during the damage step only, it goes into 2k. Takes 2k and goes down to 3,700 life points. Sets another back row. And it looks like the player A decides to set a card for the next turn. And it looks like it could be a Spirit Reaper. It was searched off the Sangan, so Spirit Reaper can stall out against the TG deck. Assuming that he doesn't have Skill Drain, this is a safe play. Looks like he doesn't have Skill Drain set, so he attacks over the Spirit Reaper, and he sets another card to the back row. Draws return, so here he can sacrifice for a Caius to remove the TG Rush Rhino. Another play he can do is to summon the Glow Bulb and make an Armory Arm. He tribute summons the Spirit Reaper to summon Caius. Caius can target the Rush Rhino Warrior, yep, and he's able to take that off the field so he can't get a search. Now if he attacks, he can trade with a battle trap. No battle trap was activated, so Caius' attack goes through and he sets into the back row. Not sure what that last back row is, let's find out. Let's look at it, and it looks like it's a torrential set. So let's see here. So what 4,400 life points, he can stall it out. He activates Monster Reborn. He can steal the Spirit Reaper to stall out the Caius, or he could get a. So yeah, it looks like the best choice for him to get a Spirit Reaper. See if he does it. Looks like he gets the TG Striker instead of the Spirit Reaper to stall out. He might have a TG EM1 card, which allows him to swap cards with the Caius. So let's see if he has it or not. He summons the Alchemist here and gets a Thunder King Ryo. So that's pretty good for the future turns if the Alchemist gets swapped. And here, since these back rows haven't been doing anything, it's most likely going to be a TG EM1I, so he can swap the TG Striker with the Caius. It is not a TGM1, so he attacks directly with the Caius and draws a card for turn. Most likely he's going to scoop here because he does have the lethal pressure, but we're going to pick it as back row before he decides to scoop. It was a Starlight Road set, so when he did set these 2 cards to his 1 set, he had a Starlight Road to back that up. He also has a Solemn Warning and a Horn of the Phantom Beast set. Looks like he forgets to activate TG Striker's ability during the end phase, so player A is going to be lenient and allow him to search. So he puts the card back before he draws, and he searches for a Rush Rhino Warrior. And then he's able to draw for turn. With the Horn of the Phantom Beast set, he can summon the Rush Rhino, attack the Caius into the damage step, and then activate the Horn of the Phantom Beast and make it up to 2800 attack. So he's able to run over the Caius and draw an extra card. And then he's able to take 400 damage here and then draw a card. See what he draws here. He draws another back row, most likely. Let's see, it's another Starlight Road, so he has 2 Starlight Road set. Player A draws a card, he activates the Alchemist effect to go up to 1800 attack. Takes the Rush Rhino Warrior with Mind Control, looks like he top decked that card. And now he can overlay for the Utopia. And he activates, well, since he doesn't have any real back row, and he's most likely going to declare an attack, most likely he won't be able to win this game, so he's going to activate Warning and kill himself. Okay, cool. Not sure what people side in Tengu plans nowadays, especially against the TG deck. But with the Chaos deck, I would probably side deck Thunder King Ryo if he does side deck that card. Really good card if they're playing against the TG stun deck. If True Nade is legal, I don't think True Nade is legal in this format. But yeah, I think that's all the thing I can think of. I think Kaiku was used in people's side decks because Kaiku was able to banish the TG cards before being able to search on the end phase. So I wasn't sure. I'm not sure if the TGs have to be in the graveyard at the end phase to search, but most likely it doesn't have to be. Alright, so most likely player B is going to be going first. He draws into a 6 card because the master rule to draw the 6th card was still legal at the time. Okay, so he activates Duality here, gets the good card I would get probably here is the Rush Rhino Warrior. Gets the Horn of the Phantom Beast, so we can kind of guess that he has a Beast Warrior in his hand. Most likely going to be a Reborn Tengu coming down. Summons the Rush Warrior and then sets the Horn of the Phantom Beast and probably another Starlight Road. We did see that he had a lot of Starlight Road in his deck, so it most likely is. Okay, I probably want to attack here into the Rush Warrior, the Rush Rhino Warrior, because he did show you the Horn of the Phantom Beast, so this is going to be pretty much a suicide mission, unless he has Honest in hand. So damage step, he activates the Horn of the Phantom Beast, draws a card, special summons Strigoti here. The Rush Rhino Warrior is a 24k, so it looks like he wasn't a suicide mission, but it is kind of like a neg because he did lose the Thunder King Ryo, but yeah, it's fine. Player B is going to go up to 6 cards when he starts his turn, so he's up ahead on the Chaos deck. Activates Duality now that Thunder King Ryo is off the board. Sees a TG Striker. So let's see here. So he did lose the Rush Warrior last turn, so he forgets to search again off the Rush Warrior at the end phase. So he is at a disadvantage here. So most likely he's going to get the TG Striker here because he forgot to search. Gets the Dark Hole instead, so he must have another monster that he could use. So player B decides to summon a Reborn Tengu, so he did have it in his opening hand after all. So he's able to swing in for 1700 here with a clear back from a clear road. Able to swing directly. Hopefully he's not a Gores or Tragodia. No Gores, Tragodia, or Battle Fader. Looks like it was a Tragodia, so he summons a Tragodia here in defense mode. Here he can steal the Reborn Tengu if he gets the level 4 monster off the duality. He has the ability to steal the Reborn Tengu here. So he does. So he's probably going to go overlay into the Utopia. In the Tengu plant format, if Reborn Tengu is underneath Utopia, and it gets removed off the board, Utopia gets removed off the board, you won't be able to activate the Reborn Tengu effect to float into another Reborn Tengu. So that's a thing. So it looks like instead of instead of stealing the Reborn Tengu here with the Tragodia, he's gonna summon the D-Alchemist to go up to 1800 attack points to try to run through the Reborn Tengu. I personally wouldn't do it because there is a chance that it could be a Horn of the Phantom Beast set. Okay, so he swings into D-Alchemist into the Reborn Tengu in case it is a Horn of the Phantom Beast, and he's able to float into another D-Alchemist. Gets another Reborn Tengu, so we can kind of infer the set card is not Horn of the Phantom Beast. Attacks with Tragodia here, and he takes another 100 life points. So it brings him down to 7800 life points here, and he can get the last Reborn Tengu. Okay, here he could have overlaid the 2 cards, but it is a TG deck, so they do have to run over 1800. 1800 is really hard without the Rush Warrior, except they might also have Thunder King Ryo too. So Thunder King Ryo can run over the Tragodia. So he activates Monster Reborn here. He can probably get a, what can he get here? A Thunder King Ryo off to his graveyard. Gets the Rush Warrior instead, the Rush Rhino. The Rush Rhino is able to go up to 2000 attack to run over the Tragodia, and he's able to run over the Alchemist for the board control. So it looks like the player B is in the advantage here with 7 cards. He would have had another card in hand if he remembered to search with the Rush Rhino Warrior. Gets the D-Alchemist off the D-Alchemist after losing it. Draws return here. Not sure what they can do now. I think there's a Dark and Light now, so being a Chaos deck, you can play the Chaos Sorcerer or the BLS here. So let's see what happens here. Summons a tour guide here, so he wants to go into either well, he can't make a Leviator player because there's no monster in the bandage zone. So he's probably gonna go into a Leviathan Dragon to run over the Rush Rhino Warrior. Falls into a bottomless here, so he loses more advantage. So it looks like he can capitalize on this attack. Attacks for 1700 and attacks for 2000. So that's going to be a total damage of 3700 damage. Takes all the damage with no Gores. Looks like he sets into the back row here. And let's see, in case he scoops, what his back rows were. It is a Solemn Warning set and a Starlight Road set. So if he does draw into a Gores, he can just Solemn Warning the Gores and the Tragodia and the Battle Fader. Activates the Lord Darkness here, draws 2 cards. Banishes a Sangan, summons a D-Alchemist here to banish. Oh, it looks like he Solemn Warnings this attack. So I guess in this scenario, I think he had an MST here, if I remember correctly. So let's show hand. Yeah, he does have an MST here. If I had the MST in the situation with 1500 life points, I would have blind MST'd just to try to hit the Solemn Warning, because if I lose a D-Alchemist here to a warning, it would be lethal for me. So I decided I would have MST'd first in this scenario. Because even then, he won't have a follow-up for the next turn, so any attack is pretty much lethal here. So he sets 2 back row to try to bluff the Mirror Force, but bluffing is kind of bad here because he does have the Starlight for the Mirror Force. Okay, Dust Shoots, and he sends back a, what does he send back here? Sends back a TG Striker, or TG Werewolf. Now he MSTs the back row and then just scoops. No reason to try to bluff the attack. Okay, so game 3 starts now. Let's start game 3. Okay, so we're on game 3. We're gonna show both hands because I'm kind of curious what the people's side deck here. Player A is gonna go first. Most likely he's gonna summon the. Oh, he's gonna draw for turn first. So he's gonna summon the D-Alchemist first. Banish the top card of his deck. Hopefully it's a monster. It is a Veiler, and he activates Duality here, which is good. I would get the Thunder King Ryo here because Thunder King Ryo does turn off his TG Striker decks. Thunder King Ryo will turn off all his searching from the TGs. Gets the Monster Reborn instead, so keeps the Thunder King Ryo at bay. I guess it doesn't have any value just yet. Shuffles the deck. Most likely going to set Dust Shoot. Keeping the Heavy Storm in play in hand is pretty good because he does play Tragodia. So keeping the Heavy Storm will give Tragodia an extra boost in the event that he has it or draws into it. So as a player who plays back row decks, you never want to side Starlight Road with Royal Oppression, because Royal Oppression can be used against you and negate your own Starlight Road. So that's the one thing that you have to worry about. So it looks like he activates Dushu here, and he puts back the Rush Rhino because there's no other monsters. Shuffles the deck. Does not shuffle the deck, so that's a problem. So most likely he's going to draw into the Rush Rhino Warrior because they didn't ask each other to rush the deck. Instead of holding the MST, he decides to blind MST. So I would have summoned the Tour Guide first. If he summons a Tour Guide and he flips Oppression, you can just MST the Oppression on the chain. So it looks like he summons the Tour Guide here, and instead of activating Oppression, he activates the Chalice. So that's pretty bad for him. Okay, so Chalice will give 400 attack to the Tour Guide. So together they'll take 3200 damage directly if he doesn't Mirror Force. Doesn't look like he has a Mirror Force set. So he's going to be taking 3200 damage. Okay, and he passes turn here. Summons Rush Rhino Warrior. So they didn't shuffle, so this was a blunder. So the Rush Rhino is going to attack the Tour Guide. In the damage step, flips the Horn of the Phantom Beast to be able to draw another card. And he draws into a skill drain, which is pretty bad for the player A here, because now his Kai's won't be able to do anything. Activates the Alchemist effect, flips skill drain so he doesn't get another monster. Okay, so he's going to tribute for Kai's here and special summon BLS. Okay, he's gonna activate Royal Oppression here. So at this point in time, I would activate Heavy Storm. If it's a Solemn Judgment, he loses half his life points. And if it's not a Solemn Judgment and Starlight Road, you can just pay 800 life points to negate Starlight Road. He activates Monster Reborn. Even under the Oppression, I probably would not have done that. And you definitely cannot activate Monster Reborn to bring back BLS because it wasn't properly summoned. So he activates 800 anyways, just in case. And then he... Oh, looks like he just wants to take back his move, which is fine, it's a casual game. So he attacks Caius into the Rush Rider Warrior. It's going to crash because they both have 2400 attack. Okay, so he's going to search at the end phase and search for Werewolf. I wouldn't have done that. I would have activated Heavy Storm for sure, but this is now irreparable. Summons the Werewolf, attack directly. It's going to take 1200 life points. Passes here. Draws into a Sangan, so he can definitely set the Sangan to search for something. Spirit Reaper was not going to help him in this situation. Tour Guide would be a good search, but he doesn't know about the Heavy Storm ruling. Gets the Alchemist here. I think he used all the Tour Guide. Maybe that was last game. No, he does. He doesn't have it yet. Sets another back row to his back row. Draws into a Caius here. So here he could Monster Reborn and tribute for Caius. Summons the Alchemist instead of not attack. That's kind of weird. I would have attacked even with because he's kind of in the back foot here. He's gonna put in defense mode. So yeah, summons the second Alchemist. Still not gonna decide to attack. Tributes for Cyber Dragon. Attacks over the Alchemist, and I would probably get the Chaos Sorcerer here because it is a big monster. And if he could just activate that Heavy Storm, that would be really great. Okay, tributes for Caius here. He gets Fall into a Bottomless. The cool thing about this interaction is that if he targets the Oppression here, and this player B activates Bottomless, Caius will no longer be face up in the field, so Skill Drain won't banish. Skill Drain won't negate the Caius, so you'll be able to banish something here. But it looks like they don't catch that ruling, so that's something you guys should know. Flips the Werewolf here, attacks directly for both of them. Activates Battle Fader, so he could use Oppression here to negate the Battle Fader, but they decide not to do that, extending the game even later. Draws return, draws into a Thunder King Ryo. Attacks, tags, that's going to be 4000 damage. It activates Horn of the Phantom Beast, draws a card off the Horn of the Phantom Beast. And now with 200 life points, he has a Battle Fader. This is pretty much a wrap. So unless the player B knows that you can Oppression the Battle Fader, this is GG's. And he just scoops anyways. Okay, no, he activates Battle Fader here. Does not activate Oppression, so he wants to draw another time. Activates mind control, heavy storm. Yep. So yeah, this was an unfortunate game for the player A. If he had just activated Heavy Storm, player B activates Starlight Road, he would have been able to activate Oppression to negate it. But yeah, judging by this kind of gameplay, it seems pretty balanced because the game was going back and forth. But the game could have ended quicker if he just knew how to activate the Heavy Storm. But yeah, that was my gameplay video or commentary video for Tengu Plant. Interesting format is indeed because Thunder King Ryle isn't seen much play in Edison. So Thunder King Ryle is really good against the TG deck because it's an archetype that likes to search a lot. But also Synchro Summoning was really much more prevalent. And since Blackwings, I think Blackwings took a big hit in the ban list, the 2 ban lists that came out after Edison. So I guess Blackwing wasn't played as much because Blackwing actually kills Thunder King Ryle because of Sirocco. But that's pretty much it. Yeah, so yeah, that was the gameplay between the 2 matchup. Chaos is a really cool deck in my opinion because it's one of those decks where you get to keep a large hand size, and so a lot of it is mystery as to what they may or may not have. And BLS is definitely legal in this format, and also 2 Tragodias and a lot of different chaos monsters you can play, a lot of dark and light monsters you can play, so that you could essentially play really well into the back rows. But yeah, I'll see you guys on the next Retro Wednesday. I'll try to do a different format as well. I think I want to explore more later formats of the game, just to keep it more interesting. Alright, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.